Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Knapik. Every week we talk about success and everything that goes along with it. You'll learn the principles of success, how to achieve success, and learn to overcome challenges that may be getting in the way of success in your life. You'll hear from Bill Knapik, a radio personality and business development expert, along with insight from special guests. If you're ready to find your path to success or take the success you're enjoying to the next level, stay tuned. Successful Living with Bill Knapik is on right now.
Yes, indeed it is. I am Bill Knapik, and today's Successful Living, we are talking to two authors, and he is Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Nelson, you have 16 best-selling novels. You've written about 21, and now in your new book called The Deserter, your son Alex joins you. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Good to be here.
And it is a super fun book. Remind me not to go to Venezuela anytime soon.
Well, we didn't.
Well, let's tell people, first of all, whoever wants to start, let's tell them your new book is The Deserter. Let's talk about it.
Well, let Alex do that.
Sure. The Deserter is a military thriller mystery. The main characters are two Army CID agents, male and female, Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor, who are briefed in Quantico, Virginia, by their superior and tasked with going to Caracas, Venezuela, to track down an infamous Army deserter who is Captain Kyle Mercer of Delta Force, who had gone missing from his forward operating base in Afghanistan years earlier, had been captured by the Taliban, had somehow escaped, and has now been spotted by an old Army buddy of his in Caracas. So right up front, there's a number of mysteries about why he deserted, how he escaped his captors, and what would possibly possess him to go from Afghanistan to Venezuela and what he's up to. So they have to go and find him, arrest him, and bring him back to face court-martial in the States.
What an assignment. And I'm about maybe 150 pages into the book, and it is fascinating. So many things came to my mind as I thought about this. First of all, with any book, how did you determine why did it take place in Venezuela? I mean, it's a fascinating backdrop, and I've investigated Venezuela as I started to read the book to say, wow, what a bad place that is. But why Venezuela? And then how do you construct the canvas for this story? It's really great.
Yeah, why Venezuela? We look for places in the world where Kyle Mercer might disappear to, and it looked like there were any number of messed up places in this globe, unfortunately. But Venezuela was very much in the news about two and a half years ago when we began the book. It was a country that had been kind of prosperous, middle class, and all of a sudden devolved into this socialist hellhole that we see now. And while we were writing the book, we were afraid that events would overtake the book. You always have that problem as a novelist, that the Maduro government would be overthrown and democracy would be restored, and we'd have half a manuscript that wasn't worth anything. But for better or worse, Venezuela is no better now than it was when we began this book over 2 years ago.
So a project like this, that's a long time for anything. And certainly, Nelson, you've been doing this for many years, 16 bestsellers, doing tremendous work. But it's a big project. How do you approach something this big? And when your writing style that you normally have had, Nelson, now you have your son, Alex. How do you? Is it easier when two of you are doing it, or how does that work?
No, it's not easier. Two heads are not better than one, but during the writing process, but at the end of it, yeah, it worked. My characters, and most of the characters in my books are kind of, action-adventure heroes, and they're kind of their mid-30s, and I'm not in my mid-30s anymore, and I've kind of lost touch with what people in that generation listen to and how they speak. So I thought Alex would, who is in his mid-30s, would make a good contribution, and that kind of worked out. Yeah, we developed, I don't normally collaborate. Most novelists don't collaborate. It's a solitary occupation, and that's the way I've done it, all my career. It may be time to take somebody else on board who is a writer, and Alex is a screenwriter, bring him into the process, and we could work it out. And we did work it out.
I think also, as I'm a father, I have one son, and this is something that you'll always remember, this project, a father-son effort, and people are going to enjoy it. The book is now out. The book is called The Deserter. Alex DeMille and Nelson DeMille. Pick it up. It's a tremendous read. The other thing, Nelson, as I'm reading on the website, and the last time we talked, it said, did you know that you write all your manuscripts longhand? Now that you had Alex on the project, how did that part work where it was different than your normal writing style?
I still write longhand, and I haven't learned how to type yet, but Alex is a lot more familiar with technology. Alex did the first draft of every chapter. He just emailed it to me, and I was able to make corrections with my pencil, my trusty number 1 pencil. And sometimes I would have my assistant type something out for him, and we just scanned it and emailed it back. So, the technology is good. Technology is good if you know how to use it. So it was kind of instantaneous. People who collaborated in the old days, I know, used to put their manuscript in the mail to their collaborator and wait 2 or 3 days before it got to the other location. But now we were able to work almost in real time, and the logistics went well. Then we, got on the same page in terms of voice, and you mentioned voice. I do have a unique voice, and Alex has a unique voice with his screenplays, but we managed to blend it. We each contributed something. We played to our strengths, and whatever I was weak in, such as technology and the research on Venezuela, Alex was able to do. And Alex is good with dialogue, being a screenwriter. Whatever my strengths were, plotting and structure and pacing. So, when a collaboration works, it really works well. But as most authors will tell you, collaborators should be shot. And most authors don't like to collaborate. This worked amazingly well, and we were really pleasantly surprised.
Well, it'll be something to talk about over Thanksgiving as you see the sales roll in around the table. I'm glad you mentioned, Nelson, dialogue. I'm enjoying, and I know other people will enjoy the read, The Deserter, but the dialogue is engaging and fun, but also the description as we started talking about Venezuela. I mean, you guys describe it so well and really show the elements of danger almost at every turn.
Yeah, I'll let Alex address that. He was my researcher.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was given certain parameters about the story that my father had already developed, including a search for a deserter who was spotted in a foreign country, and I did suggest Venezuela as a setting, partly because it was in the news. Also, it was just a country I'd been interested in a while. Hugo Chavez is such a kind of bizarre character. I thought it would be a place that, it's not the Middle East, it would be something a little different as far as like a dangerous place is concerned, but you kind of get away from the terrorism thing, but still keep it within a political spy thriller in a dangerous kind of exotic setting. And I was going to go, and then had a long talk with my wife, and we both decided together that probably wasn't a good idea, and then that was confirmed by a number of Venezuelan expats I spoke to who told me there's a reason they left, and I should definitely not go, and if I'm lucky, I'll get kidnapped. It's a kind of place where you have to fear the government, and you have to fear, unfortunately, kind of the anarchy of gangs and militias and whatnot, and so it's kind of coming from both sides in a way. What I relied on was, most critically, was speaking to expats who gave me the kind of insights and detail you really can't get just from doing standard research, and then reading books and articles, and I also leaned a lot on online maps and satellite photography to kind of get the sense of the visuals of it. If you got to go from A to B, is there a highway? Do you have to go through the jungle? Do you have to cross a bridge? All these little things that if you go, you kind of just see for yourself. So you have to kind of figure out a way to simulate putting yourself on the ground. So it was a really interesting process.
Early on, that is what you're talking about. You can't trust anybody, the picture that is painted, as far when you can't trust the police, the government, and then, there's bad guys around every corner. Why would someone go there? And it's distressing to know that there are places like that, but two of your characters have gone there, and they approach it in a way where it gives the reader the insight to say, why would they make that decision? And I'm talking about Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor. They decided to take the mission, and they are doing so in a sense of, I guess, adventure and a sense of their calling as the military.
Yeah, they definitely have a calling. And I was in the military for 3 years, and they sent me to Vietnam. I didn't want to go there either, but when I got my orders, I never thought twice about it. I knew where I was going. I knew why I was going. I think the same with Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor. It's a huge career boost for both of them. On the other hand, it's dangerous. They understand that, but they do have a calling, and this is their job. The deserter, who's Kyle Mercer, Captain Mercer, has deserted and he needs to be brought to justice. You know, in the Army there's a sense of honor and a sense of doing the right thing, and he was an officer, the deserter, and, you know, he broke his oath of office, so to speak, and he's going to be brought to justice, and I don't think there's any second thoughts from, they might have second thoughts on a personal level that I want to go to Venezuela, but duty calls, and they accept the assignment, and off they go.
And we made both of them, Brody and Taylor, both former enlisted, Brody in Iraq and Taylor in Afghanistan. So they also have a sense of this betrayal of a deserter in the field. They also have a kind of more personal sense of what that means, you know, because before joining the CID, they both really did see combat themselves.
As authors, you also had the choice as far as even with if you had the story where the deserter, someone needs to go bring them back, you could have chosen to just have one person. But certainly from the standpoint of making it interesting, it's nice that you have Brody and Taylor going out there. And it also gives a sense of realism. As it's so dangerous, it's probably better to go as a team to be able to ward off the danger and have an extra pair of eyes there to help as you're on the mission.
Yeah, you know, CID, like in civilian life, they work as teams for a variety of reasons. Some of them legal, you know. One is checking the other, and you know, as we see with Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor, Scott Brody is a little bit iconoclastic. He takes chances, and Maggie Taylor is by the book, so it's a good. She makes a good foil, and they make a good foil for each other. She's doing it the way she was trained to do it, and he's just flying by the seat of his pants. He gets her into dangerous situations, which she doesn't appreciate. So, yeah, that's for the reader a little bit. I think the reader's having fun with both these people. And also, of course, there's some romantic tension amongst them. It was, I don't think we ever thought for a moment that the two investigators would be male. So, once you make them male and female, which is kind of a convention today, you get the romantic tension that goes along with two people out on an assignment in a very dangerous and foreign place.
Alex, if you would, give us some insight into what it's like to have your father as being a best-selling author, writing interesting books, people reading them for years and years, and now you get to join him in this being your debut novel, right? Give us an idea what that was like, seeing your dad, Nelson, be so successful, and did you wish when you were young to say, man, maybe I could do that one day, or what?
Definitely. I mean, when you grow up with a father who's successful at such an interesting and creative career, it certainly gives you this, expands your idea of what's possible. You know, and I definitely, when I was younger, I would be dabbling in short stories, and I attempted a couple novels too in my 20s. But then I pivoted to film because it was also a creative storytelling medium that I had found I really enjoyed, also beginning through hobby, and I ended up going to grad school and getting my master's in Los Angeles. But I think in the last many years I've been writing screenplays, which is a process I've also really enjoyed. But I think it has helped develop a kind of, I think, an instinct about story structure, and also I think has helped me hone my dialogue. So by the time he did approach me, I certainly felt a little trepidatious about it because of his success and how good he is at what he does. But I also felt the possibility that, okay, I think I can contribute something. I've been cutting my teeth on this for a few years now. So it definitely was a privilege, and it was exciting to discover what I could add to it, while also knowing how much I could learn. You know, yeah, I think we ended up really working well together. I think we both kind of developed the broad strokes of the story together. So to me, when we were done figuring out what it was going to be, it felt very much like this is a Nelson DeMille book, but it's a Nelson DeMille book that I helped steer to decide what it was going to be as we were kind of laying the foundations for it. Double
DeMille, eh? So we see it as people that watch TV, they watch movies, we see screenplay by so-and-so, and I guess we kind of think what that really is, but let's define that just in case someone's out there and really doesn't know what, when you write a screenplay, let's just describe that for a second, if you would, please.
Sure. I mean, it's basically contains the description of the characters and the plot and the dialogue, and it's pretty much a written blueprint for what the movie or TV show is going to be. There's a big difference in terms of the role of a writer in the film industry versus publishing. You know, because a screenwriter really does not have, unless they are the one kind of guiding the project, they do not generally have a whole bunch of power. You know, and you could have a screenplay, you could be on set, and the director or the actor could say, you know what, this line of dialogue stinks, we're going to change it, and then they could just change it. And that certainly doesn't work in theater, and there's no analog to that in novel writing. So it's challenging. You're creating a document that's it's for the eyes of creative collaborators inherently. It's not really for anybody in the public to ever see, although, of course, really good screenplays are published and sometimes read by other people.
So when you write the screenplay, if I'm watching a movie or a series of whatever, and I or anyone else looks at the actors and they go back and forth, whether it's comedy or drama, and it's just flawless and interesting, it's the screenplay writer that's writing those words that they say?
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
Unless there is either some moment of improvisation or something that's changed on set, which happens fairly often. But generally speaking, yes, the dialogue you're going to hear, especially in a big Hollywood film, which they don't generally leave a lot of room for that kind of improv. The words they're speaking are written by the screenwriter, and even the places they're standing while they're talking and the things they're doing, and if they get into a car chase, the broad strokes of what happens in that car chase. That all begins in the screenplay. And
that's a whole lot. That's absolutely fascinating. Nelson, real quick, I do want to go back. Since you and I talked, you were back on the show where you had the book The Cuban Affair, which was great. But since The Cuban Affair, I also went back to one of your books that I have to mention because it was just, I went nuts, called Wildfire.
Right.
I mean, that had me at every turn, the way you described the club, the men's club, and the dangers and the characters. I love that show, or that book, by the way. Great job on Wildfire. So if you're listening out there, get The Deserter. It is the new book by Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille. Also, check out all his books. But I'm going to tell you, that Wildfire was something.
Thank you. That was one of my John Corey books, and there are now 7 John Corey books in the series, and I'm actually now working on a solo book, which is another John Corey book. And Alex and I are now in the beginning of a collaboration on a second book in this series with Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor, CID people.
How much? That's super fun, guys, huh?
Yeah, we'll really looking forward to it.
Well, and just like in The Deserter, I mean, when Jonathan Corey was in the scenes in Wildfire, I mean, the way you write, you're right there with the characters, wondering what's going to happen next. The picture is painted, the description, it's just incredible. So we have about 4 minutes or so left. I want to make sure that you guys tell people whatever you want them to know about The Deserter. Anything else? We're talking to Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille. Guys, so just whatever you want to tell people. It is awesome. They can get the book, I guess, anywhere, right?
We hope so. Yeah, the book came out yesterday, actually. So far, everything is looking good in terms of we got some good early reviews, and you get a sense of this after 40 years. I've been in the business 40 years. I get a sense that people are going to like the book. The early reviews are good. The editor was smiling, and the agent was smiling. And when the people around you are smiling, that means they like the book. And if the professionals in the business like the book, usually the reading public will like the book. And you mentioned the Cuban Affair, and we got a movie deal on the Cuban Affair with Paramount Motion Pictures. So it'll be hopefully a major movie if Paramount, which is a major studio, makes it. And of course now we're looking for the same people on Paramount who like the Cuban Affair, may like The Deserter. So we're working on the movie, and I actually know a good screenwriter who's going to actually write the screenplay for that.
And he's on the line with us right now. That's Alex,
right.
Huh?
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting, cross-discipline project. We'll see how that goes. But I guess I'll quickly plug our website so you can get more info on the books and where to get them. NelsonDeMille.net and AlexDeMille.com, and all of our social media links are on those sites as well.
And that sounds awesome. I looked also on the website. I didn't see where you're going to be in Houston anytime soon. Did I miss something, or when are you going to be out here?
No, it's not on the schedule, unfortunately, and I wish it was. We had such a warm reception in Houston and Dallas. Dallas was the book before Cuban Affair. And I have so many fans in Texas. I can tell. I get a lot of emails through my website, and I swear half of it comes from Texas. And I'm sorry we're not going to be there this time, but we have time constraints because of the Thanksgiving and holiday season, so we're doing kind of a short tour, but I can almost guarantee we'll be in Houston next time.
Well, that would be super awesome. And when you mentioned about collaborating early on here in this on the show here, Nelson, you live in New York?
I do. I'm on Long Island.
And then
Alex is actually in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not that far away, I guess, huh?
We're worlds away, Brooklyn, Long Island.
Okay.
Culturally, worlds away, but it's about a 35-minute drive. So we would mostly be doing it over email, though we would get together to kind of do a face-to-face story conference to kind of check in on the big picture, every couple months.
Well, that sounds fun. A lot of things are in the works, and you mentioned Jonathan Corey, Nelson. He's the next book we see is going to be Jonathan Corey?
Yes, and followed quickly, I hope, by the next co-authored book.
So it sounds like maybe a book a year.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Or 2 books in 1 year. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, now that you have a helper, no doubt. The book is The Deserter. Pick it up. It's on sale right now. Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille. Super guys. Great family. And other than that, guys, let's tell them the website again for both of you.
Sure. It's nelsondemille.net and alexdemille.com.
And certainly at Nelson's website, you have some of the trivia about his writing style, his habits, his Area 51, he calls the writing place. Give us a quick word on that, Nelson. Area 51, how'd you come up with that?
I'm in a small office building, and I have no markings on the door, and I'm just alone in a room by myself, telling myself stories all day with no interruptions. So I call it Area 51 because nobody's allowed up here.
There you go. And one quick word on when you write. Let's say you're writing a book by yourself, as most of them have been by yourself. So when you write, do you do it a certain time of day, Nelson, or how does that work?
I ask the same question to a lot of authors to see what they do. About half the authors I talk to are like really morning writers. My friend Mary Higgins Clark gets up at 5 in the morning to write. I am more of a night writer. By that time, I've had a lot of caffeine. And I tend to start in mid-afternoon, and I can write. I have written till dawn the next day.
Wow.
And it's just a very quiet time, I think. And so I think all authors are probably divided between night writers and the morning writers, and I'm in the category of definitely late-night writer.
Excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Nelson DeMille, Alex DeMille, the book is The Deserter. Check it out, get it, and thank you so much for being on the show, guys.
Bill, good to be with you again.
Till next time, and go to radiobill.net and go get the book, The Deserter by Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you for listening.